All right, so this is a really challenging week against a very, very talented and dangerous team that we're playing, and one that had Alabama beat all the way till the end of the game. So anytime that you have really talented players and you have an elite quarterback, size speed ratio is off the charts, and he gives people a lot of problems. This guy, I think, has had more missed sacks against him than any quarterback in the country, tackles or sacks combined, because he's really hard to bring down and does a great job. And these guys on defense are very explosive, got one of the best players in the country, rushing you every snap. So we're going to have a really good preparation week. These guys ran a fake against us last time and always have a lot of those, and formations, special teams wise, so very challenging. I hope our fans have a lot of energy and create a really, really great atmosphere. We've all wanted night SEC games here and have one, so I would really hope that we'd be able to sell the game out. Kyle told me that's not sold out, so I think that would mean a lot to our players, that they could be 7-1 and the stadium be sold out.
It may or may not matter, but with kind of where everything stands, big picture for y'all this last month, is there advantageous, beneficial to really not leave their houses for the next 4 or 5 weeks with the way the schedule's set up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you choose that, to basically have all home games left. Very unusual, and so that's great. But at the same time, too, you got to play well, got to prepare well, do all those things, or it doesn't matter. You see every week around the country, but especially in this conference, how hard the games are, how many are one possession. All our games have been one possession final scores, and so this is really challenging time to play in the SEC and coach in the SEC, and especially adding another game next year to this and battling through the schedule. I think about what we just did, going to Georgia and Oklahoma and playing those type of players.
I know we've talked about him a little bit the last couple of days, but Winston Watkins was named the SEC Freshman of the Week. What has allowed him as a freshman to break through in a veteran, crowded receiver room? Yeah,
preparation. He's just elite mindset, very similar to Elijah Moore that we had here. He's such a pro, and so I don't know why we do this. You ask me about him, and then I say all these great things, and this price is just going to go up. So not really smart by me. But I really enjoy being around him, and he's deserved to get the playing time that he has. He and Caden, really, if you look at that position, that they played a phenomenal game between the two of them in very big-time plays.
Lane, a big win on the road against Oklahoma. Just curious as your thoughts following the game. Coach Brent Venables said he felt like he had the better team. Just your overall thoughts on that.
That's an interesting take. That's a hot take. You have a better team. I wouldn't have thought that people watching would say that. I felt that we won at their place in weather that, as a defensive head coach, you would normally, wish for, and won by 8 points. And I think we left a lot out there. I think we should have won by a couple scores. So I don't know how he evaluated that game, that they were the better team. I mean, we had way more yards, 21 first downs to 14, and we played 87 plays of offense, and they had 1 sack and didn't force any turnovers. That's a interesting take, but whatever he needs to say.
And also following up 2 road trips
maybe
to Georgia.
Maybe they had the better team last year too when we beat them. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Following up on the road against Georgia.
Maybe you had the better team in Oklahoma when we beat them 55-19 in the national championship. Maybe you had the better team at Clemson when we beat them 45-40 in the national championship at Alabama. Next question, my bad. You got me on that.
talking about the last couple of wins, or the win last week against Oklahoma, and then prior to that, a tough loss against Georgia. Both those are very hostile environments. What would you say to the fans to try to replicate that for a home atmosphere on Saturday?
Yeah, I think just for fans to understand what it's like, it's not just the third down noise. It's when you come into a stadium in warm-ups and it's electric. As the opposing team, it does a lot to you. I got to talk when we go into those places like last week or like Georgia, I got to talk all week about that to the players, what the environment's going to be like, and how intense it's going to be and how much focus they're going to need to do. So, it'd be great to have that here the whole game through, so. And night's usually easier. It's usually a lot more intense at night, just how it works. And so hopefully being at night and being in a whatever playoff run, whatever you call this, that we sure would be excited to come watch, you'd think.
I know you talked about it last night and Saturday, and we've seen videos of Trinidad kind of hopping the rails, shaking hands with the fans, hugging people. I know you wanted them to appreciate it, and so do you feel like the players kind of got the message you wanted when you asked them to come back out?
I don't know. I didn't ask him. I just trying to teach him, things that I missed in life and moments, and just because I was always like, okay, man, we won, get to the locker room next game and all that, and so just trying to help him through to stop and enjoy the moments, and because they're hard to come by. And I said it before, being at USC, we won 34 straight and 26 straight at Alabama with Coach Saban, that I just felt like sometimes, man, I didn't enjoy the moments because those are historic runs. And so when we get in these good seasons, which there's been a lot of here, just try to tell the guys hey, enjoy it, especially after the wins.
I think you touched on it just a little with Pat, but wanted to get your thoughts on the LSU news and just major SEC shakeup. How was your reaction to that?
Very surprising. It's the college world we're living in now. We really, if you think about it, we talk about the players now are like NFL players, how they're paid, and now I feel like the college coaches now are more like the NFL coaches, where the firings happen quicker. The NFL coaches see all the time, they get 1-2 years, and you'd be like, well, in college that doesn't happen, because it's harder to build a roster and they give you more time. And so it's obviously not the case now. And I think it's a product of things that happen. I think that, Elko doing such a great job at A&M, I think puts in people's heads hey, these buyouts are ridiculous to pay, and but I'm sure in A&M right now sitting there going, okay, well, yeah, that was ridiculous to pay, but I feel pretty good about that right now. So anytime something works, other people go, well, let's go do that. And so I think that's happened, and once it now has places accepting, to pay these buyouts, which I think is ridiculous, but that it's happening, then it's easier for the next team and the next team, to do it.
Last OU question for me, but that moment in the game, you opted to go for 2 with Austin there. I guess when you have been taking points, what kind of led into that scenario of the game?
Yeah, there's so many analytics into things, and the time of game and the book, and whether you're down, and there's newer age ones now that that people haven't started to accept, the down 14 when you score going for 2, and sometimes there's a lot what time is it, and is it is it 6 or is it 7 points, 6 or 7. So it's really hard to figure out sometimes, and you're not always going to be right. We ran a 2-point play and we dropped it, so then it seems like a bad decision, so.
I've noticed every road game you've done the hot yoga kind of in another college town's studio. I was curious how those trips come together, and I imagine it's just a matter of keeping routine. I know you're pretty dedicated to those.
Yeah, I just have some routines and some things in life that I've just made non-negotiable, And so it doesn't matter if you're sick or tired or what it is, and there's things in my personal life or eating or whatever it is that are just non-negotiables, and one of them is that. And that's been a couple years now on the road. We've found places in advance, and a number of the coaches go with me, and we've gotten Keith Carter to go lately, but he didn't go this week. He went in Georgia for his first time. So now he says he's not going anymore because we lost to Georgia. So, but it's actually pretty neat to get up that early in some other town and get a different studio and different teachers, and a lot of our staff goes. It's a pretty good way to start the day, to get your mind right.
Lane, obviously, the personnel staff's always evaluating for transfer guys like that, but does the process start earlier with coaches who are already dismissed? I mean, you look around the country, there's probably 10 coaches who've already been let go this year.
Yeah, that's what your personnel department does, and probably, heightens a little bit once a coach is gone, that there's going to be more of those guys in the portal. So yeah, that's part of it.
It feels worthwhile to ask about Knox again too. I guess being home so much this next month for you, are you going to be able to go to his games from here on out? And what was that like to see again?
Yeah, that was awesome for those guys to come back 2 weeks in a row, even though I'm watching it on a screen. There's a cost and benefit of everything in life, This type of job is awesome in so many ways, and that's an unfortunate part of it, that you're not at your kids' games when we have road games. So I don't like that, but it is what it is. My dad had it, went through it, and but I do get a chance sometimes after meets if it's a home one to get over there for the game. So that'll be really neat. And those guys, Coach Cutt's done a great job with them, and it's really cool to see. They just keep coming back. So hopefully we'll start a little faster and not keep doing that. Not as a fan, I get it. Our fans hate that all our games are close and we got to come back in some of them. I understand the feeling now.
Lane, looking back, the 2022 season and then, of course, the 25 season, you made mention to Molly McGrath on ESPN about how you decided to talk to the team, whereas in 22 you didn't. Could you just talk a little bit about your relationship with Keith Carter and Dr. Boyce and how things have changed over the last couple of years?
Yeah. I kind of look back on that. I never just say, oh, well, this is how it is and these things happen. I'm always trying to learn from, in this last win. I don't like when we got to 2nd and 2 what we did, at the end of the game, instead of, so just, I always look at no matter what, how to try to do something better. And I thought looking back at that, because we had, you didn't have as many portal guys back then, and you had guys that had been here a number of years with us. I thought that, the Auburn thing maybe had weighed on them, and maybe that had to do with, how we played in that Egg Bowl. And so I just have said, hey, learn from that and make sure that you address it. Then this year I really didn't think that it needed to be done, or last year because we had so many guys that had been here and been through it. But then I was thinking, well, maybe with so many new players, just to address it and just explain to them that's what happens. That's a product of them playing really well. When players play really well and assistant coaches do really well, then these other fan bases want the head coach. And so that's just a product of our guys doing really well. And then the second part of it, Dr. Boyce and Keith have been amazing. They've done everything that they can to help us win, and I've been very appreciative of them as my two bosses, and also as friends. Just going through things over time here, and Knox moving, and they've been amazing people for me to be around, and I consider them both really good friends.
Talk a lot about your wide receiver room and how deep it is, but how vital is your 4 tight end set been this year with Buckler, Odom, Wright, and Haas?
Yeah, I think that, when you talk about evaluation, personnel department structure of your whole building, if you look at NFL organizations that are good over a long time, a lot of it is the evaluations, and it's not just the high draft picks. their bottom draft picks, you know, and free agents. And so I try to run our program like that and really stay on in the offseason. Hey, we may already have our starting guy at a spot, but hey, who's our third or fourth, and can we go find somebody that we can bring in better? And I used Trace's example of here's a guy that you wouldn't have necessarily expected to catch the touchdown and then be on the significant play, you know, which that play was really cool too, because it was 3 offensive players doing what we practice. We practice offensive turnovers the other way too, you know, like getting the ball out, you know, in case you're ever in that situation or you throw an interception. And a receiver tackled him, a tight end knocked the ball out, and an offensive lineman recovered it. That's a very low analytic for that to happen.
How has that allowed you to be more creative and effective at the line of scrimmage this year with your tight end room?
I just think it's more creative in plays because they all have different skill sets. We have a lot of receivers and tight ends that are all different skill sets. Sometimes you have a lot of guys that are all alike. And so it's been really good to have and be able to play in some different personnels, especially with Daquan limited in that game.
Coach, you've had the 1-0 thing going with players talking about it, and you know, maybe at the point of the year it sounded kind of tongue in cheek, but with Ole Miss favored the rest of the way and every game important, what is the level of importance in staying in that mentality?
Huge, because none of those other games you're talking about being favored and that matter. This is the only one that matters, and these are really good players, really good team, and you know we've got to play really well and prepare really well and find a way to get to 1-0. I said it last week in Oklahoma. I didn't care if it was 48-46 or 2-0. We got to get to 1-0 and beat Oklahoma, you know, and get back home, and we did.
Lane, I'm curious how the Real Tree collaboration started and kind of how cool is that for you and the players to have something new every single year here?
That's been a great relationship. I don't remember the exact date, you know, of just being around the Jordans and getting to know them, and then kind of with them coming up with this idea, how can we, you know, when I got here, I felt Ole Miss, right or wrong, I just felt needed to be significant, like in recruits' eyes, nationally, to people. And I've always said kind of have the Oregon factor years ago when we were in the Pac-10 at the time. And Oregon became really unique with uniforms, style of offense, tempo, and kids just wanted to go play in it. And so Real Tree, I felt, was an avenue of being part of that, of something really unique, and they've been great to our players.
What's the biggest thing you've seen on film thus far heading into this week against South Carolina?
Really good players. You know, they've done a great job of recruiting there, and really great defensive long players, and a quarterback that's really, really hard to bring down. That's really fast too.
My follow-up on that hot yoga question is, can any of the other coaches keep up with you?
Yeah, sure. We're all at different stages in our lives, you know. It's not really about who's best in there, you know. It's just, you know, maybe we liked getting Keith in there, you know, like watch him struggle the first day. That was kind of fun. But no, I don't know. You know, Lou Spanos on our defense. He's pretty amazing mindset. You know, he's in the front every day, every morning he goes, and you know, he's pretty motivated. He sings in there, you know, like to the songs, you know. He's awesome energy in there. Anything else today? All right, guys, thanks.